How's it going, everyone? So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can build out an end-to-end automation tool leveraging an AI coding platform like Bolt.New and a low to no code tool such as Make.com. If you saw the previous video that I did, I went through how you can build out an automated sequence, having Bolt.New create an interface for you. However, in this video, I want to show you how you can not only have an interface where you will upload a document or another kind of file and then have it delivered via email or through a Google Drive, but how you can actually make it end to end to where you upload the file via an interface and then after being processed is returned to you on that same interface. So this could be very helpful for clients you may be working with. It may be helpful for your internal work or business tools. But if you haven't already, would love if you could go ahead and subscribe to the channel, put your notifications on if you like this kind of content. I appreciate all the support I've been getting so far for these videos. But to jump right into it, so one first kind of go through what an automation like this would look like in a more traditional kind of way. In this scenario, what we're looking at is, for this example, actually an audio file where you have a podcast episode or an interview that's in the form of an audio. Typically, what you would do is you would upload that file to Google Drive, and then that would trigger the start of the automation. The next step is that file will be put into the form of a URL that you can then send to an app like assembly.ai, which is this third step here. Assembly.ai is a transcription software. And so it would transcribe that audio file. And once you have that transcription, you can send it to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT or other large language models, depending on what you're using. In this case, it's ChatGPT will then be able to repurpose that content. So in this example here, it's repurposing the content into tweets, and then those tweets would get posted onto a Google Doc. So that is typically what you would see traditionally with a Make.com. In this example, what we're going to be doing, we're going to be building out an interface for that very same automated automation sequence where you are taking a file and then on the other end of it getting tweets in response. And this could be tweets, this could be for LinkedIn posts or any other kinds of content you would want, blog posts. And so in this example, we're going to be starting with a webhook, which is just a packet of data that's going to be sent from Bolt.New. Once the file is uploaded to the interface, it'll set off an automation that would make the audio file be sent to a Google Drive. The file will be uploaded to a Google Drive, and then it will provide a URL, a share link, that gets sent to assembly AI to continue the rest of the automation. And then rather than the tweets being sent to a Google Doc, at the end of it all, it'll actually be sent back to the interface for as the deliverable. And so this is now actually making an automation like this in full end-to-end sort of a solution. Now, I'm going to be building this out from scratch. I'd already done it previously, and I will point out that some of the to keep in mind, especially when it comes to Bolt.New, and Bolt.New is becoming very popular and notorious for coding with AI, is that Bolt.New is really great for creating beautiful, sexy interfaces and whipping them up relatively quickly. However, sometimes as the build outs or the automations or the apps, whatever you may be building at the time, the more complex it becomes, the more limited I have learned Bolt also starts to become as well. Sometimes there's certain nuances that can be difficult to work through, especially if you are not a traditional developer. Then you may have to then take the work from Bolt and actually continue it on elsewhere. That's where tools like Cursor AI and Replit come into play, to where you can take what you start with a Bolt.New and then further refine them with other software that are out there. Cursor is really great when it comes to more complex, intricate kind of build outs. And they actually just released something called the Cursor Composer Agent, where Cursor will now actually install the programs for you and do a lot of the manual work that you still had to do when working with the AI assistant. And it makes it a hell of a lot easier for uh, getting your projects to the finish line. And so I'm bringing this up now because towards the end of this automation, to have the response of the tweets back to the interface to be presented on the interface rather than a Google Doc, Bolt.New may have some challenges with handling it. And so if that's the case, then we will take it to Cursor and Replit to finish the build out. And again, we're going to be doing this from scratch. So we're going to see how this goes. All right, so to get right into this, we're going to start with the prompts that we'll be putting into Bolt. So as I mentioned, we're going to be taking an audio file, and that'll be uploaded to an interface that we'll be building out with Bolt. It'll then go to make.com. It'll be transcribed and repurposed into tweets on make.com. So the prompt that I'm going to be using on Bolt, I have it already preloaded here. Help me create a content automation tool called Tweet Shooter that will take an audio file, transcribe it, create repurposed content, X tweets, and then deliver those tweets to the user. And so this prompt will cover basically everything that we need. I have here for the processing of it to be shown on Bolt as a processing visual, like a loading visual, and for the interface to be modern, dark, and be able to accept MP3 and .wav files. So we're gonna go ahead and click, and then you'll start to see Bolt begin to build out the interface. I love how on the side it actually shows you what it's doing and the way it kind of presents it all. And then on the left side is where the explanation and the description and the follow-up prompts that you'll put in exist. So Bolt versus Cursor and some of these other tools, Bolt is really good for building out very quickly. However, even though it can install and put the commands in and run the development environment in an automated way, if you need to get more granular, then you're going to want to go with, more of a cursor, or cursor on Replit, to kind of further the tools, further the build out. And that's why they work well together in tandem. And so we'll see what what Bolt has come up with here. All right, so it looks like it actually gave us an error to start with. So when you see an error come up, when I was actually doing this on my own, the error didn't come up, but that happens, and that's going to happen sometimes working with these tools. But when you see an error like that come up, you're just going to copy and paste this into the chat box and say receive error. And then in this case, it was a syntax issue, but one or two prompts, and it'll get rid of that, and then we can continue on. So preview screen is coming off. Okay, so it looks like, all right, so we're good to go. So Tweet Shooter, transform your audio content into engaging tweets automatically. All right, so this is what Bolt came up with, very similar to what I shown you in the beginning. So we're going to start with a webhook. So we're going to get a custom webhook. I had this preloaded already with Tweet Shooter. So you're going to set up a custom webhook. It'll give you an address that you're going to copy, and you're going to then take that address back to Bolt, and you're going to go in and say, here is the webhook URL. Please load it into the code base. Also keep in mind, once the automation triggers, it'll take 2 to 3 minutes to process before sending back the result. So it's going to take the webhook now and it's going to integrate it into the files, so we'll be able to now go ahead and test out this webhook. All right, so we're going to now test out this webhook. So we're going to click on run once, wait for new data. We're going to go back to Bolt, and then we're going to drag and drop a file into the interface. This is a pilot for a podcast that I started called AI Generated around speaking on emerging technologies. So we're going to use this as the file, and then we're going to get tweets from this file as part of this automation. So it's saying failed to upload audio file. So the reason it's doing that is because it's expecting a response back from make.com, but the automation hasn't actually happened yet, and it's not coded in the files yet. The coding files, that this is part of the process. So what we're going to say is, because we actually go back to make, you'll see that the webhook did process. And if you open up the output of this operation and go to data, you see this data over here. This is showing that we have received that information from Bolt. We have received that packet of data from Bolt. And so what we're going to do is we're going to come back here. We're going to click this out, and we're going to say the interface is reading that the file isn't processing. However, the data did get sent to make.com. It'll take 2 to 3 minutes for it to process there and return the tweets. I tried to put that in the previous prompt. It looked like it didn't necessarily register. And again, there may be a next step beyond Bolt in order to get this to the finish line, but we're going to see how far we're able to get with this. So we can actually just go ahead now and continue on with this automation. Okay, so once we have the webhook in place, we are going to next add a Google Drive step. So for the Google Drive step, we're going to be uploading a file. So this is going to be the audio file that that is being uploaded to Bolt. And then when it comes in after the automation gets triggered, it'll actually be uploaded to Google Drive first. So let's choose the folder that I want to use, and then for the file name, it's going to come from the webhook, and then the data, as I was explaining before. So we're going to click OK, and then we're going to go on to the next step, which is going to be to create a share link, get a share link. And that's going to give you a URL that you can feed to the audio transcription tool. So file ID is what we're going to take from that. We're going to have the role as reader, the type as anyone. And that's what you need in order to get the download link. And then you can allow file discovery, press OK. And once we have that, we can go on to the assembly AI step. So this is the audio transcription tool. We're going to transcribe an audio file, and we have a connection already. So the audio URL is going to be the web content link, and we could actually just leave everything else. So that'll transcribe the file, and then from there, we're going to repurpose the important parts and the most tweetable parts into tweets. So we're going to choose OpenAI, create a completion. You'll have to connect your OpenAI account, and then we can use GPT-4o mini. It's a little cheaper. And then max tokens, I like to put max tokens at 0. And then for the message, I will start with system. Let's say you are an expert content editor, and there's going to be a second message, which is going to be what is actually being done. So I'm actually going to preload a prompt that I had prepared for this. So it's going to say, read through the following transcript, identify the most impactful points, and turn them into 10 concise tweets. Do not provide an intro in your response. Go straight to listing out the tweet. So this text is going to be from the OpenAI, from the assembly AI step. So that's going to be this text right over here. And we're just going to click OK. And then once we have this OpenAI step, the last step is going to be the webhook response back to the interface. So for the webhook response, the body of that is going to be in JSON. That's the format that it needs to be in. So what you're going to load that with is so I'm going to copy and paste what I had preloaded, and you can feel free to copy what I have listed here if you want to go ahead and pause to use this if you try it yourself. But for the ID, that's going to be the ID within OpenAI. For the content, that's going to be also within OpenAI. If you open up the choices, open up messages, you'll see content right here. And then for the timestamp, that's going to stay as is. That the variable timestamp is the time the tweet is being sent. And let's just make sure this is good to go. All right, so now this is the automation that's set up on the back end, make.com. And if we go back to Bolt now, and Bolt has the webhook URL. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this once to test it, and it's going to wait for the webhook. I'm going to drag and drop the file. Okay, it says file upload failed. interesting. So now if I look here, I see it says that automatic failure response was set to the webhook, which is interesting because the file actually did come through. Hold on, we may need to change this file name over here. Oh, no, this is fine. What I'll actually do is I'm going to actually go ahead and delete this webhook, and we can actually just redo this. Let's just go ahead and redo this step. So custom webhook. Let's add say content per demo. Copy address to clipboard. The file to upload. Here is a new URL. Load this in. So I actually I had to reload Bolt because my computer was freezing. So something may have kind of gone wrong in that process. So we'll put in the new webhook, and then we're gonna go ahead and retry this step. All right, so we're gonna try this again. So I'm gonna click on hold on, change. We gotta. All right, looks like we actually have to just run this webhook module again just to get the information to feed into Google Drive. So we're just gonna look to get the webhook info. So we got the webhook info, and it looks like it's loading well on the side of Bolt. So we're gonna come back here to Google Drive, upload a file, and now we can input the file name and also the data. And click OK. Make sure everything else is good to go. Everything else should be good. All right, so now we're going to try this again. Run once, drag and drop this here. It starts loading. We come to the make, you see it's going through. The file got uploaded to Google Drive. We got the share link. Now it's being transcribed with Assembly AI. Then it'll be repurposed into tweets, and then it'll the webhook response should get sent. All right, so it got sent, and then on the other side we see here your audio is being processed. The tweets will appear here once ready. Content automation. All right, so to be honest, it should be an immediate sort of response, and so because that's not the case, it means that there's something that's slightly off within Bolt. What I'm going to actually do next is, so I'm going to X this out. I'm going to save Bolt. So because I already kind of know what the issue is, which is that the JSON file within the webhook in the body right now, the way that the code is set in Bolt to receive the information, this step within the actual content where the content is posted, which is this line right here, choices message.content, this should all be together in one based on how the code currently reads. So if I actually take this out and just open up the mapping area and click on choices, this should actually work. However, it won't actually bring back the tweets because the tweets are within the tweets are within the choices. So you have to click within choices, click within messages to get to the content. But if this works, then we know that is the issue, and then we could prompt Bolt to make the adjustment. And if that adjustment doesn't work, then we can take it to the next step, which would be cursor for something a little bit more heavy duty. So we're going to go back and we're going to just rerun this now. I'm going to drag and drop. It's going to process. Google Drive file being uploaded. Assembly AI transcribing. Then OpenAI will create the tweets. And then we'll see what the webhook brings back. Processing in progress. All right, so it still looks like it's actually not giving what it needs to give. So what we're actually going to do here is we'll actually change this back to what it should be, and then we're going to go over to cursor.ai in order to finish this up. And so what you can actually do, and what's pretty cool about Bolt and how these tools work well together, is you can actually take where you currently are in for this process, and you can just go ahead and download the file. So you can download this and then download it in the form of a zip file, and you'll have the whole repository. And so we're gonna leave Bolt. I'm actually going to completely X this out, and we're going to go over to Replit.com. Now within Replit, we're going to create a rep. We're going to choose a template, and we're going to choose a blank rep, and we're going to title it tweet shooter demo. Create rep. And Replit traditional development environment, they also have a lot of AI friendly tooling and AI powered tooling. You know, they have the Replit agent. We're going to be using Replit specifically for their development environment, and we're going to actually unzip the file that we got, Project Bolt, and then we're going to go into the file. We're going to drag and drop the folder, the SRC folder, which has all of the application information, and then all of the files within this project to folder. We're going to drag and drop. So now we have the whole code repository in Replit, and then what we're going to do is we're now going to integrate Cursor with Replit so that we can take this further. And so I've done a bunch of different videos on Cursor on this channel, how you integrate Cursor with Replit, um, the upsides and the value in using a tool like Cursor. You can go ahead and check those videos out if you want information about Cursor and how it works and whatnot. But we're going to go ahead now and actually open up the plus sign at the top right tab, type in SSH, and we're going to create an SSH key within Cursor. So we're going to now open up Cursor, and at the bottom left of Cursor, you can click on the terminal, Command K, and then we're going to create a SSH key create an SSH key for Replit, title it Replit, copy public key to clipboard, enter. So that's going to create an SSH key, which is what is going to allow you to integrate Cursor with Replit. You're going to click enter, yes, overwrite, Y, enter, enter again. And now the SSH key will be copied to clipboard. You're going to come back into Replit, and you're going to go over the keys, add SSH key. I'm going to label it tweet shooter demo, and then paste in the key, add SSH key, go to connect to the left, click the copy for connect manually, go back to Cursor, open with SSH, Command V, add new host, Command V, enter, click the first option. At the bottom left, you see the host is added. You're going to click on connect. And for those who are just joining for the first time, when it comes to this, it seems a little bit complicated at first, but once you've done it a couple of times, it actually goes super, super quickly to make this integration happen. You're going to want to continue. And then at the left side, we should see a second button come below the clone repository. So we're not going to click that. We're actually going to click open folder and then click the tweet shooter demo. Click open. And then now Cursor and Replit are integrated. So we can now prompt through Cursor. And as I was mentioning a little bit earlier, Cursor recently launched their Cursor agent. So if I hit Command I, you'll see here in the composer, typically you're looking at just this option to toggle between different large language models to prompt with. But now on the bottom right side, you see normal and you see agent, where you can actually have this agent composer that can use the tools within Cursor. And so what I'm going to say is, and again, we have the files connected now. I'm going to go over to this. It's called Talktastic, what allows me to verbalize what I want to do. So I'm actually going to verbalize it. So I'm working on building out an automation tool that'll take an audio file, upload it to an interface, and then go through a sequence of transcribing that file and then pulling out tweets from the transcription, tying into important parts from the transcript, and then sending those tweets back to the interface. Now, the automation is primarily happening through make.com. So there's a webhook that gets information, the data from the audio file gets sent to a webhook module on make.com. And then it goes through a sequence to where you will get the tweets that should get sent back to the interface so that the tweets can be presented in a nice way. Now, the last part where you have the webhook response is currently not working properly. And so I need for the code to be adjusted so that the module, the webhook response module, once the tweets are ready, will send that information back to the interface. And it should be presented in a very simple sort of manner, so that it's literally a matter of the information of the tweets being sent back through the webhook response to the interface, and that's it. And so the tweet tastic will actually transcribe what you say onto the composer, and we can toggle the composer onto the agent so that it'll actually install whatever programs or dependencies are required. So just to review what I said, so I'm working on building an automation tool that will take an audio file, upload it to an interface, and then go through a sequence of transcribing it, blah, 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 blah. Now, the last part where you have the webhook response is currently not working properly, so I need the code to be adjusted, and that's it. And I'm going to submit that. And so I'm going to look to make this done very simple, and hopefully Cursor doesn't complicate things too much. But we'll see here. It says based on the code-based search, I can see that application is React-based, handles audio file uploads. Let me check how the webhook response is currently being handled. I see that we need to modify the response handling currently It doesn't handle the response data from make. Let's modify it to properly handle and return the tweets from the webhook response. All right, now update them. Use audio upload hook to handle the tweets returned from the webhook. All right, send audio, wait for and receive the processed tweets in the response. Display the received tweets immediately in the UI. Show appropriate status message to be displayed. Is there anything specific about the webhook response format that I should know about? For example, tweets are nested differently in the response JSON. All right, so I'm going to go back to the make.com module, and I'm going to copy and paste what the information in the webhook response, what I currently have there. Here is what the webhook response currently states. And then I added in the content type and application JSON/JSON. Let's see what is added here. It's updated code to match this format. I've updated the code, added proper content type header, added validation maps the response data to match the tweet interface, the response format and image. This should not properly handle the webhook response. Any additional adjustments? I'm going to say one more thing. I also added another custom header. Access control allow origin value. So I want to mention this second header as well. I added this in before I pulled up cursor. So I want to, here is the other header. So those are two headers that you can add also to your make.com module if you're following along. These headers provide more of a description so that the cursor and the AI system will be able to provide the appropriate guidance. All right, so this should not properly handle the request, correctly send audio files, form data, parse and return the tweets from the webhook response without making any adjustments. I'm just going to accept all, and no, let's test it out. All right, so npm run dev, so it should run the application now. It's got to install some dependencies. All right, npm install, npm run dev. So these are commands that would be made on the terminal. All right, so now it's going to open up in another browser. Let's see what pops up. All right, so we got the tweet shooter pulled up here in this browser, and then I'm going to start the automation. So run once, and then I'm going to go back to the interface and pull the file here. All right, so it's having trouble processing currently, so I'm going to, well, actually, if I go back, yep, so it seems like it is having trouble processing. I'm realizing may need to actually provide this webhook URL again. Can you help me update the webhook URL first? So this is a part that it should already be in there, but it's not currently. So we're gonna update this. All right, yes. All right, let's try it now. Run once. What went wrong? So it looks like it actually came through. The data came through. I'm not sure what went wrong. Automatic failure response was sent to the webhook. Pull that out to make. For some reason, an automatic was sent to the webhook. I'm gonna say, remember there a few steps before make send back the information. It first go through a Google Drive assembly and OpenAI step prior to the webhook response. Loading audio file. All right, let's try it again. Still failing. You know what though? There should be this audio data. Let's try this once. Let's try it again. It's not even going through at all now. Let me just try to run this webhook alone. All right, so this webhook is working now, but it's failing. It says failing processed audio. Still an issue. Hold on, let me return this to what that was. All right, so it's going through now. Not saying it's being processed, but it should actually already be getting sent back, because once it hits this webhook module, it should be going straight back to the presenting on the interface. I believe the data is getting sent to be presented. Let me also share what the module looks like and the header. So share what webhook response module looks like with the headers. The tweets should just be sent to face and present very simply. I was creating an endpoint to receive the webhook response. Configure the response module to send response to your webhook endpoint. Webhook response module doesn't have an input or a URL. The response should be sent through the original webhook somehow. Maybe I'll just copy and paste that original webhook URL. Just modifying the code so that it gets sent back through the original webhook URL. I've simplified the code to send the audio file to webhook, wait for response. Tweets show a processing message while waiting. Make processes the file. Sends back tweets, UI updates. We don't only use separate webhook endpoint. We like to test this updated version. Answer is yes. All right, let's try it again. Being sent through. Processing info showed up immediately. Okay. Let's fill the process. try it again. It wants to check, see what's going on. Go through, still fail. And it's actually processing within make, but it won't. It's not getting sent back for some reason. It's still failing. Let's see what is being said in the tab. Let's look at console error, sending audio file, syntax error, bad APIs yet. Control characters, like potentially maybe a simple kind of change. Here is the error. Maybe I'll even come with and say MOD to arcane travel. I'm gonna say the response, the code should be able to accept response that looks like. Alright, update the code to match make.com's response format exactly. Simplify the code to match make.com exactly. Expecting ID, choices, message one, content, timestamp. Move without JSON, clean extra part. Got some formats, simplify the error handling. Yes. Great, let's test it out. Alright. See what it says in here. It's going through. And I'll say looking at the console can help a lot, especially, because it can give you very specific feedback on what the error may be. So we'll see what happens in this scenario. All right, tweets getting created by OpenAI. Failed to process again. And it says, this time it says error sending is still a syntax issue. Failed to process and with the console. Right, it seems like it may actually be a minor issue based on what it's saying. When it's a syntax error like that. Bad control character and string literal in JSON. Let's handle JSON parts more carefully. Seems like there are still some characters in the response that we need to handle. Whether to go get the raw response first and log it, clean the text more thoroughly, spit out what's coming back, and where the person might be failing, can travel and travel again, share whatever it is. See what comes back. All right, something at least came back this time. So the tweets actually came back when I see it. See it said parse data status success. So we got the raw response, which is fine, and then we had the clean response, which actually isn't like the raw response. So we had a raw response and then clean response. So successful this time, but so we had the raw. So in the console, it shows the raw response and then the clean response. However, the raw response looks good. That's what should show up on the interface. Currently, only some number is showing up on the interface as attached. So I think we're getting close. The response format from make is different from what we expected. Instead of using 16 ID and 16 choices, it's sending a more standard format with ID and content direct. Let's update the code to handle this format. I've updated the code to match the actual response format we're getting. Look at your screenshot in the console output. We can see that make sending back properly formatted tweets. All right, let's try this again. Run once. Let's go on through. When I look at it, boom. It came back with all of the tweets. Now it's giving the cleaned responses, which I would like to see it as the raw responses. So as you can see, what Cursor is really helpful for is being able to get more granular with the editing of the code. Whereas with Bolt, a lot of these errors will probably just still continue to come up without being able to really identify within the different coding files where the issues are rising. All right, so simplify the code. I'm going to say accept. I'm going to X this out and then run once. Let's see what happens this time. All right, it says no tweets were generated, although that's not the case. It says failed to parse text, syntax error. So this error. Properly handle the new lines in the JSON. All right, accept that. Let's X out. Let's try this again. Run once, drag. Let's see what we get. All right, so it's still presenting it in this kind of way, all sort of jumbled. However, within the raw response on the console, it's showing it in in the way that I would actually like to see it presented on the interface. So now, all right, this, however, does get us to where we want, which is the actual tweets being presented on the interface. And, we'll stop here with this, but some of the things I want to even just talk about, even just Cursor, and how, as you can see, Cursor is really helpful for being able to sort of debugging and working through the kinks of what you're building. Bolt is great for giving you the sort of base and the foundation for the interface. And with Bolt, you can build front end and back end. You can build a front end and back end out and full stack applications. You can connect Supabase and so you can go from zero to deployment with Bolt as well. However, if you run into any roadblocks, then you may want to take it to a Cursor and connect Cursor to Replit in order to continue editing. And I'll also say that in regard to make.com, as you can see here, once we got to that last module with the webhook response, that the tweets were now sent to this interface. However, to actually improve on the formatting of this This is why I'm going to kind of stop it here, because there were steps that we would actually take prior to this point within make.com, to where if you, before even having the data go to the webhook response, between the webhook response and OpenAI ChatGPT completion step, what you would want to do is actually create an array module here. You would add a module like an array, uh, and the array would help with parsing the tweets so that there are individual files for the tweets. And so then you could have it so that when it gets presented to the interface, they're being presented as individual blocks rather than one block. As you can see here, it says here one, and then it actually lists out all the tweets, right? One, two, three, like all these tweets are listed out in one sort of space. And so to take it further, the design aspect of it is you'd want to have that divided up before you even get to this point. And there are different ways of even presenting it. You can have it presented such that it's showing you one at a time. You can have it presented so that it's showing you one and then putting a horizontal line in between to then show you the second one, just to kind of have a better design aspect to this. But the sake of this tutorial is really to show that you can go end to end with these kinds of automations. So you're going from having the audio file, which you're uploading to this interface, is then going through a make.com automated sequence, and then a webhook response is being sent back to the interface where it's presenting the tweets. And that's what we have here. It's very interesting when you think about what can be done and how you can mix and match these different tools together. I found as I was working through it that it wasn't so straightforward to apply the hook response. And so what I'd even say is something to consider is, in some cases, working just with the AI coding tool, because what you can do is, rather than dealing with the APIs on the back end, like for example having the ChatGPT API and the Assembly AI API and the Google Drive step within make.com, this is actually something that could also be done solely with Bolt or solely with Cursor, to where you apply the API as they're called env variables within the code itself. And so you're only interacting within that code base, and you're not dealing with the make.com step. And so that's also something to consider. You'll find in these different use cases, there are scenarios where one works better than the other. But again, this is to show that you can combine these AI coding tools with these low no code tools in very powerful ways. And it's a great way of really sharpening that iron when it comes to building out automated workflows. So the one last point to mention is deployment. So this, as you saw with Bolt, I downloaded the code and then I uploaded it to Replit, and then I connected Cursor to Replit. From here, you can actually go ahead and deploy this as an application. And if you're then again, maybe working with a client, maybe this may be an internal business tool for you, or maybe something that you just use personally, you can now upload audio files and get in on the other end of this tweets. And so to go ahead and actually deploy this, you can type in looks good for now, and maybe we create this as a V1 and then say, can we go ahead and deploy this app? And let's see how it guides us through the deployment. So with the cursor agent, now I'm kind of seeing what that process looks like. Okay, yes, we can deploy the app. Since this is a Vite plus React application, we have several deployment options. Let me help you prepare the app for deployment. First, let's build the production version. Okay, so let's run that. So I'm going to say, all right, I'd like to deploy via Replit. Can I just go ahead and deploy, or are there any changes that need to be made? So this is my first time working with the cursor agent, so I'm kind of seeing if that deployment process changes at all. All right, let's update the .replit file to configure the correct run command. Then click on deploy, click deploy to production, put your application, generate a public URL, host your app, HTTP. All right, So let's accept. All right, so I'm going to go back to Replit. Let's run this, see what happens. All right, saying 5173 is already in use. That's because, we're using it in within the cursor terminal. This next error is happening. Let's accept this. It looks like it made the changes. Let me stop. Let's run it again. Let's see if it uses 5174. It says loading page. Let's see. There we go. There we go. All right, so using a different development server, and so we have the one that was in cursor, then it's the one that's been used for Replit. So now we could actually go ahead and deploy this. So we copy and paste this into our browser. The page should come up. It's moving a little slow, but the tweet shooter should come up. And so to go ahead and deploy this, all you would do is, okay, perfect. All you would do is at the top right where it says deploy, you would click on deploy. You have 4 different options. When it comes to deploying, auto scale is what's recommended, where it uses basically power based on how much the application is actually being used. You click on setup your deployment, and you'd approve and configure the settings, and then from here you literally just click on deploy, and after that you could decide to connect it to an actual domain, a custom domain, and you have built out this application. And so from truly end to end, to where you started with just the idea for it and the audio file, to where you can turn it into these tweets. And as you can imagine, you have different use cases, whether you wanted to create something where it's for tweets, whether it's for other kinds of content, LinkedIn posts, Instagram posts, and all different kinds of use cases for something like this. But this goes to show like how powerful the technologies are today and where we are at in terms of AI and programming. As you can see, there are still kinks that you have to work through, still bugs that you have to work through. But even if there are any challenges with reading the code or anything happening on a granular level, you can go from a tool like Bolt, which gets you up to speed very quickly, to a tool like Cursor, Replit, and get more granular as it walks you through. And then you now have Cursor Agent, which has just taken this space light years ahead. And so, yeah, let me know how you liked this tutorial, what you want to see more of. I know we've got a lot of requests for Bolt specifically, but there are other software as well that, when you mix and match them, you can really do some very powerful things. And I don't see many people doing these kinds of tutorials or videos. So yeah, we love the feedback. And yeah, so this is tutorial slash demo slash example of how you can build out an end-to-end automation tool using Bolt.New, Cursor.com, Replit, and Make.com.